Welcome back. Okay, let's dive right into this. If you've ever felt completely exhausted by the daily grind or felt like life is just sort of toying with you, you are exactly in the right place. Today's explainer covers a totally fascinating, paradigm-shifting model created by quantum physicist Vadim Zeland. It's called reality transurfing, and what we're going to do is visually break down exactly how this model promises a way out of that grueling struggle. And spoiler alert, it's not by fighting harder, it's actually by doing something incredibly unexpected. To kick things off, I want you to consider this frankly bizarre riddle. If you solve the riddle, your apples will fall into the sky. This is the cinematic mystery right at the heart of our explainer today. In the source material, Zeland describes being visited in a dream by a figure he simply calls the overseer. And the overseer presents this riddle, saying that everyone has the ability to acquire absolute freedom of choice. But how do you actually get it? Well, Zeland tells us that if you can solve this riddle, the impossible literally happens. Your apples fall into the sky. And that riddle perfectly captures the incredibly enigmatic origin of transurfing itself. Zeland is upfront that this esoteric knowledge didn't come from his own logical step-by-step deductions. It was handed to him directly through that vivid dream. When he woke up, the strange word transurfing was just stuck in his head. Along with this radical realization, you don't actually have to furnish your world by yourself. Instead, transurfing is a method for literally choosing your destiny. It's exactly like casually walking down the aisle of a supermarket and just picking the item you want off the shelf.
So, Section 1, The Illusion of Struggle, a paper boat in a storm.
Before we can go shopping for our dream destiny, we have to look at how we're currently living. And normally we view our lives through one of two extremely exhausting lenses. The first is fate. This is the somewhat depressing idea that everything is predetermined. You're just a tiny paper boat in a storm, unable to escape the crashing waves. The second lens is total control. This is the belief that you have to consciously force everything to happen, constantly struggling and battling the waves to push your boat where you want it to go. Honestly, both of these approaches are completely draining.
But hold on a second. What if both of these worldviews are completely wrong? What if you don't have to surrender to a miserable fate, but you also don't have to spend your entire life bitterly fighting for happiness and getting nowhere? What if there's an entirely different plane of reality where struggling is practically obsolete?
That brings us to Section 2, the space of variations, an infinite matrix.
We really need to slow down here for a second, because this is the central, almost godlike concept of this entire explainer. The space of variations is an infinite field of information. It essentially works as a template or a coordinate network for moving matter through space and time. Because it is totally infinite, it contains the data for absolutely every possible material object and its path. Everything that was, everything that is, and everything that ever will be already exists simultaneously as data within this space. Think of it like a movie film. All the frames exist at once, even if you are only experiencing one frame at a time.
To make this massive concept a bit more digestible, imagine reality as a theater play. Every single variation in this infinite space contains a script and decorations. The script is the path of matter. It's the chain of cause and effect. The decorations, that's the external view, the physical environment surrounding you. So if you go to a play on Tuesday and then go back on Wednesday and the backdrop is changed, you're on a life track with different decorations. But if the actors completely change the plot, well, you've shifted to a track with a totally different script. Moving on to Section 3, Lighting Up Reality. Choosing your track. So if infinite scripts and decorations are already out there existing simultaneously in this matrix, how do we actually navigate it? Well, there is an absolute golden rule to transurfing, and it's this: waves of thought energy materialize a potential variant. I want you to picture a pitch-black, infinitely large forest. That forest is the space of variations. Now imagine someone walking through it holding a flashlight. Wherever they point that flashlight, a specific patch of trees suddenly lights up. Human consciousness acts exactly like that flashlight. The energy of your thoughts illuminates a specific sector of that infinite space, and that illuminated spot is what actually materializes into your physical reality. And knowing that leads us to a pretty tragic irony about the danger of fighting. When you constantly fight obstacles, complain, or fixate on things you absolutely hate, you are actively pointing your flashlight directly at those problems. The world just neutrally manifests whatever you choose to focus on. If you radiate dissatisfaction, your thought waves literally drag you onto darker, faded life tracks. Remember, you can't change the script of the track you are currently on, you can only choose to shift to a different one. Fighting what you hate just glues you right to it.
Which tees up Section 4 beautifully: escaping destructive pendulums, reclaiming your energy.
If all we need to do is point our mental flashlight at positive tracks, why in the world is it so incredibly hard to do? Well, Zeland introduces these invisible enemies into the model. They actively try to steal our energy and manipulate where we aim our focus. He calls these forces destructive pendulums. These are unseen energy structures born whenever groups of people start thinking in the same direction. And they fight for control over us because they literally need to feed on human energy to survive. These can be big external forces like manipulative organizations or angry internet mobs, but they can also be completely internal, like our own nagging superiority or inferiority complexes.
And these pendulums rely on some very specific manipulative tactics. First, they want to capture you as a follower or adherent. Then, they feed heavily on your negative energy, things like anger, fear, guilt, and resentment. But most importantly, they actively teach people not to choose their own destiny. They trick you into feeling powerless, and they demand your blind dependence so they can keep you trapped in that exhausting illusion of struggle, endlessly fueling them with your emotional reactions.
Now we arrive at the cinematic climax of our explainer. Section 5. The power of pure intention. The path to freedom.
If we want to solve the overseer's riddle, if we want our apples to fall to the sky, we have to find the exact mechanism to glide past these energy-sucking pendulums and just get what we want. The author points out that to be free, you have to stop acting like the asker, the offender, or the warrior. We have to stop asking the universe for miracles, stop demanding fairness, and stop struggling against the waves. Which leaves us with one massive, climactic question. How do we just go and take?
The answer is pure intention. This is desire and action combined into one, but completely free from excess importance. Zeland explains it like this. When you want something so badly that you're agonizing over it, you create what he calls excess potential. This upsets the natural balance of reality, and the universe will literally throw you onto a track where you fail just to restore that balance. Pure intention is different. It's having the calm, emotionless certainty of simply walking down to the corner store to buy a magazine. You don't beg for the magazine, you don't fight the cashier for it, you just calmly walk over, pick it up, and take it.
All right, let's map out the exact mental steps required to seamlessly glide onto a new life track. Step 1. Drop importance. Seriously, stop agonizing over the outcome. Step 2. Refuse destructive pendulums. Do not let external drama or your own internal complexes hijack your emotional energy. Step 3. Simply choose your reality. Turn your mental flashlight exclusively to the track where your goal is already an existing fact.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for this explainer. Everything you could ever possibly want already exists out there in the massive space of variations. The world is quite literally just waiting to manifest your choice. So take a hard look at your daily thoughts, your complaints, and the things you struggle with. Which life track are you currently illuminating with your flashlight? Are you going to keep fighting the storm, or are you ready to just choose your reality? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep your flashlight focused, and we'll see you next time.